My Hero Academia, Chapter 232, Superpowers and Quirks. So this pretty much had everything I can ask for in a chapter. We had some laughs, we had some action, some exposition, and some story development. And that means we got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. So this chapter is opening up where the previous one left off, with Twice encountering Re-Destro and Garen, and I just love what happens after this when we see Twice just instantly replicating Tomura, Davi, and Mr. Compress like right in front of him. This is just further showing us how busted Twice's quirk really is. I mean, we saw in the previous chapters that of course he can replicate himself like thousands of fold, and that is busted in itself, but now he could just start pulling out powerhouses like this out of nowhere, and they have their quirks, and they pretty much have their personalities, meaning that they have their tactics with them too. Oh man, it's just so awesome. Just this one panel of them all just lined up there, squad mode. Also, the little hilarious narration that we get, League of Copies assemble. It's just so good. But I also love the whole dialogue exchange here. It starts off with Twice having to reaffirm that they are, clones, and that it's okay if they die because it doesn't mean that they're going to cease to exist. This is like one of the caveats of Twice's quirk. Like, he has to let the clones know, not just clones of other people, clones of himself as well, that they are copies. Because we're going to run into that whole problem with like the mutiny thing that happened originally with Twice when he did clone himself. And we're actually seeing little glimpses of it here, because when Mr. Compress is like, huh, does that mean you're a duplicate too? And then we see the one Twice clone like, of course not, I'm the real deal. And then the other one's like, excuse me, I'm obviously the real one. But thankfully, we have the voice of reason come in, or should I say, the clone of reason, when he's like, enough already, it doesn't matter who's who, we're all here for the same reason, we're putting our lives on to save our friends. And, it's nice that they cleared that up immediately. But also another cool thing here is that this is the first time that these three members are actually seeing Re-Destro. Like, before this, no one really knew who the ringleader was. I mean, of course we did because we're viewing it, but they just, I don't know, we're kind of just following a voice before this. They didn't know that Re-Destro was Re-Destro. And speaking of Re-Destro, we're seeing his quirk for the first time in this chapter, and as I expected, it's pretty damn powerful, but it's also pretty cool too. It seems like Re-Destro has like armament hockey and gear 3 at the same time, if you guys follow One Piece, so that's awesome. But let me give you my opinion of what I think is going on here. So I think Re-Destro's like inherent quirk is just like the gigantification of his limbs. So he kind of like has what Kendo has with her hands, but he's taking it to the next level and he's just amplifying his limbs. But he doesn't seem to lose any kind of speed with this. Like, naturally you think the bigger you get, the slower you become, but it doesn't seem to be holding him back in this regard, because he instantly swipes them all away so fast that they can't even react in time. So the black stuff, the stuff that's forming the mask on his face, and the stuff that covers his fingers, what I'm likening to armament hockey here, because it looks just like it and it seems to have the same characteristics. It's possible that this isn't a part of Re-Destro's quirk. Now, I could be wrong here, but I think this might be something that the Detonarat company developed. Something in the same realm as nanomachines. Maybe not exactly that, but something like it. Because we have to remember that the Detonarat company develops equipment and stuff like this, and we've seen it used in this arc so far, and I've been saying it since the beginning that I think Re-Destro is going to have the best equipment, because it's only natural that he would, and I think that's what this is. It would just be a little too outrageous if this was also his quirk, like he has a gigantification quirk, but also he could do this too. It just doesn't seem likely that he would have two effects to his quirk that don't really relate to each other. Like I said, it could be wrong here, and we're likely going to find out in the next chapter, but I think it's something along the lines of nanomachines. Also, Re-Destro's quirk is, might be giving us a hint that he can fight against Gigantomachia, because if anyone is capable of, like, physically going against him, it seems like it would be somebody with this type of quirk, and I assume that it doesn't stop here. I mean, him just growing his arm, I don't think is the full extent of his ability. I'm sure that he can either grow both of his arms this big, so maybe he can get into a power struggle with Gigantomachia, or he could just straight up grow his whole body and maybe he becomes just as big as Gigantomachia, maybe even bigger. That certainly opens up a whole lot of possibilities, and I'm really looking forward to it. I don't think that Gigantomachia is going to defeat Re-Destro. I think that would kind of take away from Tomura and the League of Villains character arc here and their development. You know, if everything was just taken care of by Gigantomachia for them, like if he cleaned up their mess for them, it would kind of ruin everything they've been working towards here. I do think Gigantomachia is going to wreck house. Like, he's probably going to take care of all the citizens in the city, more or less. But Re-Destro, I think, is going to be reserved for Tomura or just the League in general. So aside from him effortlessly swiping them away, we're seeing the explosion that this causes coming out of the tower, and it's insane. Definitely comparable to the other superpowered quirks that we've seen, you know, like One for All, Gigantomachia, Muscular. So Re-Destro is no friggin' joke, if you weren't aware by now. And then we get this cool little sequence where one of the Twice clones that got swiped away, like his torso is just remaining, but he still has enough time to duplicate himself. And this also adds another level to Twice's quirk. Like, he doesn't even need to be fully formed for him to start using his quirk and replicating himself. So then we're finding out that they didn't just take Giran's fingers, but they took his whole friggin' right hand, and that sucks. They're doing my boy dirty here, but maybe he'll get like a robotic hand after this arc, kind of like how Mr. Compress got his robotic arm. So then we see the Tomura clone try to blindside Re-Destro, and Re-Destro avoids it. So I guess this is letting us know that Re-Destro does have formidable reflexes as well. He's just not a powerful quirk. And then we go into the expositional battle here with a whole bunch of info being thrown around and whatnot. So let me try to explain this the best I can. So from how I see this, it's that the mother of quirks, quote unquote, is the mother of Destro. And she existed in the same time that, like, All for One versus One for All was happening, like the heyday of that. You know, before there was like quirk laws and everything, when there was just like people without quirks versus people with quirks, and everybody hated each other, and there was just like this huge war that stifled the development of humanity. Because if we go back to the beginning of the series, they're like, yeah, if quirks didn't happen and all of this crap, then we'd be exploring interstellar travel at this point. So this is like the dark ages, I suppose, of this world. And we see that the mother of Destro, aka the mother of quirks, is the person who coined the term quirks. Before that, it was just superpowers or meta abilities or whatever. And I guess quirk was a way of her trying to humanize her child and just people in general with abilities, because before that they were just seen as detriments and threats to society. Because I think quirk means more than just what we English speakers know it as. I think in Japanese it means like personality, or at least that's what I read before, something like that. So it's kind of liking like the quirk to, hey, this is not just an ability that this person has, it is the person, it's a part of them. It's like, because we see that like heteromorphic quirks and other quirks that rely on the person altering their lifestyle to accommodate the power that they have, it's not just, oh, hey, you have a quirk, it's like, this is who I am. It's like, if you want to discriminate against me for that, then you might as well discriminate me for the person that I am and not just the abilities that I have. And we find out that she was unfortunately killed for her views, which in turn made her into a martyr, which led her son Destro into radicalizing her views into forming this cult that we know as the Liberation Army. So I guess this means that she's like the messiah of all of this, and Destro is the prophet, who eventually went on to make the Bible, which is the manifesto, which allowed this radical views to spread to the current day, which is what we see now with Re-Destro, who claims to be a descendant of Destro. So I don't know if this means he is his son, which I guess we originally thought. I guess this means that this goes back further than what we originally thought, and maybe Re-Destro is like the grandchild, or maybe even the great-grandchild, or maybe the great-nephew, something like that. It's not made too clear as of right now, but just ballparking the timeline here seems like it's going back a couple generations. So then we come to the final sequence of this chapter, which is just amazing. I enjoyed this part so much, and it's when we see the clone of Tomura talking to Twice. It's like, look, if you want to make some cushion for Giran, you should probably do that now, because I saw the original of me outside, like I peeped him in the corner of my eye, And I'm guessing that he's going to touch the tower and make it crumble, because that's what I would do. And hey, that's exactly what he does. And oh man, this is just so awesome. And it's just further showing us that, wow, this quirk is broken. So we already saw, like in the beginning of the series, that he could totally destroy almost anything, if not everything, because, you know, the entrance to UA, like, he crumbled it no problem. That was implied to be like state-of-the-art security, and it was just nothing to him. So him just touching the foundation of this tower spread instantly all the way to the top and made it crumble. Like, we see that even as the tower is falling, it's still disintegrating at the top of it. Like, that's how far his quirk is going here. So either his quirk has always been capable of this, or it's been enhanced over his battle with Gigantomachia. So Re-Destro was able to survive this building falling on him as we expected, but then Tomura recognizes him from the Detnerat commercial. And this is the same commercial that we saw at the beginning of this arc, I think chapter 218 or 219. I think that might be the first time we actually see Re-Destro in the series. But I think Tomura recognizing him here is going to lead into them further talking about the equipment that they develop, because they've also gotten into hero support. So I think this is probably going to lead to us explaining what this black substance around Re-Destro is, and I think it might be setting up the League, like, taking their equipment and supplementing them. I mean, this is like post-arc stuff, I mean, end of the arc stuff, but I think that's where it's headed. We're just going to get more exposition on the equipment that they have. But also, the final panel of the chapter here, we see Re-Destro with, like, his mask fully formed on his face now. Like, before it was only, like, covering his eyes, kind of like a masquerade mask. But now it seems to have fully formed. So I guess this means this is, like, fully serious Re-Destro. Like, this is him ready to go all out. And I'm not sure if we're going to get, like, one-on-one battle in the next chapter. Like, this is it. Tomura versus Re-Destro. I'm sure something is going to happen to delay this, or somebody's going to interrupt it, because now they are in the city now. They're not in the tower. So that means that, you know, anyone who wasn't killed by this building falling is likely going to come and aid Re-Destro in his fight against Tomura here. But that remains to be seen, and I cannot wait for the next chapter. I am so excited to see what happens in the rest of this arc now. And like I said, I love this chapter so much, and I really hope that you did too. I probably missed some stuff in this review, but I'm trying to make these shorter so that you have more incentive to actually want to listen to them, guys. So if you liked the video, please give it a like. Let me know what you thought about all of this. Let me know how you're interpreting Re-Destro's quirk here. Let me know how you're interpreting the mythology of the Liberation Army. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. I have a Patreon, gives you access to a weekly Q&A video that I do. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.